Welcome. Tonight, 2 months after their confirmation, President Bola Tinubu approves the positions of 31 career and 34 non-career ambassadors to various global missions and the United Nations. Gunmen attack Rotimi Amechi's convoy in Rivers State following formal defection to the ADC. Terrorist attack in Ngosha community in Borno State kills several soldiers and residents, while Governor Babagana Zulum vows to rescue the abducted residents. And U.S. President Donald Trump says there will be no deal with Iran unless it accepts its unconditional surrender.
On business news, President Bola Tinubu inaugurates 11-member committee to oversee and ensure smooth launch of the Grid Asset Management Company Limited.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria's D Tigers head coach Rena Wakama names her final 12-player squad for the 2026 FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying tournament in Lyon, France.
President Bola Tinubu has approved the postings of 31 career and 34 non-career ambassadors to various countries and the United Nations. For non-career ambassadors, some of the postings include Senator Grace Bent for Togo, former Governor of Abia State Victor Ikpeazu for Spain, former INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu for Qatar, and Mr. Eno Mokri for Mexico. Others are Mrs. Angela Debayle for Portugal, Mr. Femi Fani Kayode for Germany, and Mrs. Florence Ajimobi for Austria. And for the career ambassadors, we have Ambassador Nwabiola Ezenwa Chukwuemeka for Côte d'Ivoire, Hamza Mohamed Salaru for Iran, Besto Maimuna Ibrahim for Niger, and Ambassador Clark Omeru Alexandra for Zambia. The Senate confirmed the ambassadors designate last December, and viewers can get a full list of the ambassadors and their postings on our website, www.channelstv.com. The former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, has called on his supporters to remain calm and peaceful following an attack on his convoy and the burning of the Secretariat of the African Democratic Congress in his hometown in Ubima, Ikwere local government area of Rivers State. The incident occurred as the former Rivers State governor arrived the state to formally register as a member of the African Democratic Congress, the ADC. Our correspondent Charles Soporum reports.
A sizable crowd gathers at the Port Harcourt International Airport to receive former Transportation Minister Chibike Amechi as he arrives in Rivers State en route to Ubima, his hometown, for his electronic registration as a member of the African Democratic Congress, ADC. Supporters cheer as the former governor's convoy moves towards Ikuri local government area. But the journey soon encounters resistance. Mr. Amechi and his supporters are reportedly prevented from entering the community by members of a local vigilante group. Determined to proceed, the former minister and his supporters continue the journey on foot to his polling units. On arrival, they are met with a disturbing scene. The ADC secretariat in the area had been burnt, allegedly by political opponents believed to be opposed to his visit. Moments later, tension escalates as suspected gunmen reportedly attack the convoy with sporadic gunshots, causing panic in the community before security operatives intervene to restore calm. Despite the incident, Amechi goes ahead with the electronic registration exercise.
Don't be violent, because violence may lead to the death of somebody. So don't be violent. But at the same time, they can't stop us from meeting in our community. They can't stop us from meeting in our community.
The former minister praises the swift intervention of security agencies. He also condemns the burning of the party secretariat while calling on security agencies to arrest and prosecute those responsible.
I will thank the Commissioner of Police and the Director of SSS. They showed a lot of professionalism. Immediately I made contact with them. But I wasn't expecting that kind of cooperation. I thought they would go behind these criminals and not render support. But all of us will agree that the police came out. What they call them, NSCDC, right?
Yes.
Came out. And the DSS also came out. So we're grateful to them. I'm grateful to them, especially those of them who are here. But they must also know that this cannot continue. The way they will show us that this cannot continue is that they must prosecute those who are involved in this crime.
Speaking at the ADC State Secretariat in Port Harcourt, he expressed his optimism about next year's election, urging people to join the party.
So the focus is on ADC, but they must give us time to build. We have to build a party that is formidable, that can confront the party and the government in power. And I can tell you for free that we think we'll get there. Why do we think we'll get there? Just opening the portal for registration. Individuals, without being mobilized, with their own money, are registered.
The former governor concludes by urging residents to remain peaceful despite the tension in the area, while calling on authorities to bring the perpetrators of the attack and those behind the burning of the party secretariat to justice. Charles Sopurum, Channels Television News.
The Independent Judicial Accountability Panel has called for urgent amendments to the 2026 Electoral Act, citing ambiguities in key provisions on the electronic transmission of results and warning that such uncertainties could undermine electoral transparency and public confidence in Nigeria's democratic process. The call was made by the chairman of the Independent Judicial Accountability Panel, Professor Mojido Wade, at the end of the fourth session of the panel in Abuja. He says the panel observed inconsistencies in the wording of several sections of the Electoral Act dealing with results transmission and urged the judiciary to ensure speedy hearing in cases of national interest, especially those involving constitutional interpretation and emergency powers.
We noticed a number of ambiguities in the Act. And we are concerned for now with some of the sections. You recall that section 60 subsection 3 is the one that deals with transmission, and it has a proviso. And one of the things we observe is that the word shall at all times used in the proviso can be given different meanings, so it is not clear. There are other ambiguities. For example, you find out that section 63, 65, 62(4)(a) and B, they use the word transmit differently. In some you find electronically transmit, in some transmit, and some transmitted directly. This we feel could be misleading in terms of judicial interpretation. It is for this reason that IJAP now puts up a draft that is utilizable for the purpose of an amendment. And below here you see the draft. I quote, "The election officials designated by the Commission shall electronically transmit all election results immediately after the prescribed result forms have been signed and stamped by the election officials and countersigned by the candidates or polling agents where available at the polling units and collation centers to a public portal designated by the Commission. The transmitted results shall be used to verify and confirm any other results before it is collated."
Wives and family members of military personnel detained for allegedly plotting a coup against the government of President Bola Tinubu are asking the government and the military hierarchy to charge the affected officers to court or set them free. Addressing journalists in an emotionally packed briefing in Abuja, the officers' wives asked the military to charge their husbands to court and allow them prove their innocence.
Wives of military officers among the 16 officers accused of allegedly plotting a coup against President Tinubu are flanked by human rights activists Omoyele Sowore and Mr. Detained for a news conference on the alleged coup plot. According to the family members, some of the accused officers have been in detention for 160 days without being charged to court or tribunal, while family members face constant intimidation from the military.
There are inconsistencies that have raised serious concern.
In an emotionally packed conference, wives of the accused military officers appealed to President Tinubu and the military hierarchy to allow justice prevail.
Mr. President, the military public stated over 6 weeks ago that investigation had been concluded. If that is the case, justice must now move forward. We respectively request that trials commence immediately in an open court of law visible to all Nigeria. We do not want anything done secretly, please. To the Nigerian military, to the men and women of the Nigerian military, we are not your enemies. We are wives, mothers, children, and we struggle to understand how the same institution our husbands serve with dedication has now become the source of deepest pain. We respectfully ask for compassion, transparency. Grant us access to our husbands. Let us see them and know how they are safe and alive.
In a similar vein, human rights activists Omoyele Sowore and Detained asked the accused to be charged to court or be released.
I'm not a stranger to the offense of treason because under Buhari as a civilian, I was accused of trying to overthrow Buhari with my bare hands. Trying to overthrow him by posting on social media. So I've seen these ridiculous charges before, and I know how government operates. We are asking that without delay, only 2 options are available to the government. Release these men, if there's any women around with them, and apologize to them, or present them for trial with immediate effect.
Nobody is defending anybody, but we are saying that where there is no genuine evidence, if there is coup, present them before a court of law. Lead evidence. Evidence is like smoke. It cannot be hidden. Lead evidence against them. But if there is no evidence, leave these people alone. Release them. Let them go and face their lives.
The Nigerian military had in January this year released names of 40 alleged coup plotters, including 16 military officers who allegedly plotted to overthrow President Tinubu. Although investigations were said to have been concluded, not much has been heard of their trials.
Our demand, Mr. President.
Security matters. Suspected Boko Haram insurgents have attacked Ngoshe community in Gwoza local government area of Borno State, killing civilians and abducting several residents during the raid on Wednesday night. That attack has triggered panic across the area, forcing many villagers to flee their homes in search of safety. Sources say the attackers stormed the community in large numbers, shooting sporadically and overwhelming the residents, with more than 300 people, including women and children, abducted during the assault, while thousands of others have fled to neighboring communities to escape the violence. The suspected insurgents also reportedly dislodged the military base in the community during that attack, catching away some weapons. In an amateur video obtained by Channels Television, the attackers claimed responsibility for the assault in Ngoshe, boasting about taking control of the town and threatening to expand their operations beyond the area.
For now, we cannot say anything because we are yet to examine the exact casualties, but many have been killed and then many were abducted. But I believe we have reported to the Nigerian Army. I believe the Cho Army Sub-Theater Commander, the CHOC, are doing all what they could with a view to containing the situation. For those that were abducted, the Nigerian military is doing everything possible to rescue them. I want to appeal to the people of Borno State to remain calm and law-abiding, because right now there is ongoing military operations in the Sambisa Triangle, in the Sambisa Game Reserve. So what really happened was that the insurgents were pushed out. They did a coordinated attacks. That is the major reason that we have seen many attacks. Yesterday, Jakana was attacked, Kondaga was attacked, Marte was attacked, Gosha was attacked. Fortunately, Marte was repeal, and they were severely dealt with. On the go, yes, we have some casualties, but inshallah, all will be well. Government will double its efforts to ensure that this madness has come to an end.
In part two, after the break, court grants former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, his wife and son bail of 200 million naira each, pending trial in the money laundering case filed against them by the EFCC. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live in Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. 2 months after the confirmation, President Bola Tinubu approves the postings of 31 career and 34 non-career ambassadors to various global missions and the United Nations. Gunmen attack Rotimi Amechi's convoy in Rivers State following the formal defection to the ADC. Terrorist attack on Goshe community in Borno State kill several soldiers and residents, while Governor Babagana Zulum vows to rescue the abducted residents. And U.S. President Donald Trump says that there will be no deal with Iran unless it accepts unconditional surrender. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted bail to former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, his son, Abdulaziz Malami, and his wife, Asabe Bashir, in the sum of 200 million naira each. The court also ordered that each defendant must provide 2 sureties and like sum as part of the bail conditions. The court further ruled that one of the sureties must deposit title deeds of landed property located in highbrow districts of Maitama or Asokoro in Abuja. In addition to this, the defendants were directed to surrender their international passports to the court, pending the conclusion of the trial. Justice Joyce Abdulmalik also ordered that the defendants remain in the custody of the Nigerian Correctional Service until they meet their bail conditions. The trio were arraigned by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and the case has now been adjourned to March the 16th for commencement of trial. The Igbo community and other residents in Angwan, Sunday, Romi, and Taradun communities in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State have commended the state governor, Senator Obasani, for embarking on the construction of abandoned road projects in their area, and they have pledged to support the governor's second-term re-election in 2027. The roads, which had been left unfinished by previous administrations for several years now, are now nearing completion, bringing relief to residents and business owners operating in these communities.
Ungwan Sunday, a densely Christian community in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State, has suffered from long years of poor road network and other infrastructure challenges, a situation which led to the closure of so many businesses. Community members led by the president of the Igbo Community Welfare Association and traders are happy that the improved road network is already boosting commercial activities and making transportation easier. They describe the development as a testament to Governor Sani's commitment to inclusive governance and equitable infrastructure development across the state.
You can see this road. This is a television to Angwan Sunday Road. It's one of the roads that the governor gave the contract to be constructed. And this road is very, very vital to us.
Sincerely, it has been a bad experience over the years. You know, in terms of business has not been moving the way it should because most people have not been, taking the route. The road, it was so the next day, last 10 years ago, the road was, but now we thank God for work that Obasani is doing for us.
Other priority projects of the Governor Obasani administration are the ongoing construction of the College Juji Road and the Ngwanromi Karatudu Road that links several communities in Chikun local government. The roads were previously difficult to navigate, affecting transportation, business activities and access to essential services. But with the construction nearing completion, residents believe movement within the community has significantly improved. They also pledge their support for Governor Obasani for remembering them in his infrastructure development agenda.
2010 have been applying this road, and this road is referred to as a dead zone. There is no one likes to come to this area. If you come here, you're on your own.
Honestly speaking, Obasani is a peacemaker. He's a good man. For my life, I've never voted for APC before. But what he's doing in Kaduna State, I'll vote for him.
With the ongoing road project nearing completion, residents of Ungwansande, Romi and Karatudu communities believe the project is a significant step towards improving living conditions and boosting economic activities in their communities. And effectiveness in the acquisition of skills to empower young Nigerians with employable and entrepreneurial digital skills. Co-founded by the World Bank, the initiative places a premium on a practical, hands-on training to close the skill gap in the labor market by engendering a skill entrepreneurship mentality while boosting productivity and self-sufficiency, aimed at building resilient and inclusive technical education systems.
It is no longer news that the Federal Ministry of Education, through federal government of Nigeria, have brought this flagship program not only to be empowered, but to become self-reliant and create jobs for themselves.
The training, which is tuition-free, has a wide scope of over 400 skills to be learned within 6 months and targets youth between the ages of 18 to 35.
Boost youth employability. If you see our youth today, they are running around, even graduates of first degree and second degree, they are running around the street looking for jobs, attending interviews here and there. So in order to boost employability of the youth, this skills acquisition program came into place.
Some challenges associated with data capturing of participants' biometrics is highlighted.
Now you have bought your biometric machines, and it is not compatible with our platform. And that is why we said you can be using both. For those that you can see on the dashboard, use it. Those you cannot see, use the manual attendance.
The government hopes to train 30,000 youth this year and believes that the initiative has the potential to be a transformative program in Nigeria's efforts to tackle youth unemployment.
Still ahead on the news at 10, President Bola Tinubu inaugurates 11-member committee to oversee and ensure the smooth launch of the Great Asset Management Company Limited. That's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Bernard Doro, has flagged off the distribution of food and nutrition items meant to benefit thousands of households and vulnerable groups in Adamawa State under the Presidential Social Security Intervention Initiative. And according to the minister, this intervention is meant to absorb the shocks caused by armed conflicts, insurgency, natural disasters, and climate change.
Adamawa State has had its fair share of humanitarian crises triggered by insurgency, flood disasters and other climate-induced shocks. The visit by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction is seen as part of efforts to reach out to affected groups under President Bola Tinubu's Social Security Intervention Initiative. While receiving the minister at the Government House, Yola, the Adamawa State Governor Umaru Fintiri calls for enhanced federal collaboration to address the humanitarian situation in the state.
This supplies will go a long way in addressing some of the challenges within Malami the relevant report. On our own also, we've been doing our best to assemble, and I think this is coming at the right time to complement our effort in this thing.
From the Government House, Yola, the minister proceeds to the Yola Specialist Hospital, where he donates nutritional items and some equipment. The chief medical director of the hospital is grateful for the gesture.
We see a lot of malnutrition cases, and we manage them in the hospital, as we have also seen. And those items supplied, especially the nutrients for the treatment of malnutrition, are very vital and important.
At the symbolic flag-off ceremony at the NEMA warehouse in Yola, the senior special assistant to the president on public health and nutrition says President Tinubu's approval of over 25 billion naira for food and emergency intervention speaks of his commitment to the people's welfare.
Under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the approval of 25 billion naira for emergency food and nutrition intervention sends a simple but powerful message to the vulnerable Nigerians. And that message is that you are seen, you matter, and you are not forgotten.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction underscores that the federal government's new strategy goes beyond humanitarian intervention, while a representative of the vulnerable groups applaud the intervention.
This intervention is not an isolated event. It is part of a broader national strategy to build a responsive, accountable, and resilient humanitarian and poverty reduction system.
We want to say thank you, sir, for this great opportunity given to our community of persons with disability, because when we are talking about the inclusion starts from here.
High point of the event is the symbolic distribution of food and other items by the minister. As the people disperse with their food items, residents are looking forward to a broader social protection intervention that will empower them to be self-reliant.
Glovo, one of the leading technology-driven delivery companies in Nigeria, has introduced a new safety feature on its riders app called Telematics, in a significant step aimed towards rider protection and road safety standards across the country. Speaking at the event to mark the launch of this initiative in Abuja, which also featured a road safety training for Glovo delivery personnel, the head of operations, Glovo Nigeria, Mr. Oluwaseun Okunboye, explains this initiative reflects the company's priority in safety, innovation, and responsible business growth in Nigeria.
As Nigeria's e-commerce and delivery sector continues to expand and concerns about the safety of dispatch riders heightens, delivery platform Glovo has introduced a new safety feature embedded in its rider mobile application designed to provide real-time insights and encourage safer road practices.
He also looks at like the speed limits that you should go in different areas, and based on that, it generates scores. It looks at other things like, are you passing one way? One of the biggest things we are really focused on is like the focused driving. We don't want anybody placing calls while driving or pressing their phones or blinking lights or overspeeding or high brake acceleration.
Beyond the digital tool, the company is collaborating with the Federal Road Safety Commission on this road safety training session focused on defensive riding techniques for dispatch riders.
When you are in the highway or you are moving at a high speed, you don't just slow down or you don't just stop. You need to observe other road users, the use of trafficators. They are very important. When we fail to use trafficators, nobody knows the direction we are going. Because it's through the trafficators that we communicate with other road users.
For the organizers, combining technology with practical training can significantly reduce road incidents and improve the overall delivery experience for riders and customers alike.
Safety precautions are very, very key, and in as much as in Glovo Nigeria, we deliver happiness, we're changing, we're improving the ecosystem, so it's very important that all riders are safe.
What telematics starts to show us is behavior, how people are speeding, how they are not obeying traffic, and once riders already know like there is something checkmating them on that. It helps it. It starts to change like the behavioral aspect of it, of how riders start to approach. And at the end of the day, if they are not following the standards we want them to, we would not partner with them, because at the end of the day, the key for us is you leave your house, you are able to go back home safe, and the people on the road are also safe being on the road with you.
With delivery services becoming an essential part of urban life, Glovo believes this initiative will play a vital role in improving road safety standards for dispatch riders across Nigeria.
We're continuing the world of business now. Let's join Dominic Iwewu.
Thank you, Anne. And on business news, President Bola Tinubu has constituted an 11-member committee to ensure the smooth sailing incorporation of the Grid Asset Management Company Limited, GAMCO. The constitution of the committee followed the Federal Executive Council's approval for the establishment of the company at its Wednesday meeting. The committee is to fast-track a quick-fix solution to the endemic problems of stranded power, grid management and transmission in the country's electricity sector. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Days after President Bola Tinubu proposed to the Federal Executive Council for the establishment of a grid asset management company, the federal government is marching words with action with the inauguration of a committee to drive the initiative.
The Grid Asset Management Company.
President Tinubu is represented by his Chief of Staff, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, who notes the importance of the committee in the realization of the president's aspirations in Nigeria's power sector.
I think we should stick to the mandate, which is to look at the legal implications, if any, if there are overlaps, if there are things we need to correct in terms of establishing and setting this up. If there are legal hurdles which we need to cross, we need to do that.
The committee, chaired by the Chief of Staff to the President, will determine whether the establishment and operationalization of GAMCO require amendments to primary legislation, subsidy regulations, and executive directives. Members of the committee include the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, and the Ministers of Power, Works and Finance, among others, who express optimism in achieving their objectives.
We know what the vision of Mr. President is. We know what he wants. Our own obligation or duty is to ensure that we achieve this without running foul of the law.
This is very innovative and must be supported, and on time too.
President Tinubu believes this initiative will address Nigeria's power sector challenges through optimization, private capital mobilization, and disciplined asset management, ultimately improving electricity reliability and national competitiveness. From the Presidential Villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says 30 banks have met the new minimum capital requirements applicable to their respective licenses ahead of the March 31 deadline under its ongoing recapitalization program. In a statement issued today and signed by its Acting Director of Corporate Communications, Mrs. Hakama Sidi Ali, the financial market regulator also mentioned that a total of 33 banks have raised additional capital through rights issues, initial public offerings, IPOs, and private placements as part of the program. The CBN clarifies that the remaining banks' capital positions are undergoing CBN verification before final confirmation of compliance. The Apex Bank reassures that Nigeria's banking system remains stable and the capitalization program is on track and will further enhance the sector's capacity to support households, businesses, and sustainable economic growth. Global oil price benchmark Brent broke the $90 per barrel mark today after President Donald Trump demanded unconditional surrender from Iran, raising fears of a prolonged war that will cause a cascading disruption to global oil supplies. Brent crude futures added 6.81% in the last 5 days. At the same time, the U.S. benchmark West Texas Intermediate crude also climbed to $91.56 a few hours ago and has gained more than 30% this week. Nigeria's stock markets ended Friday's trading session in positive territory amid a quiet trading session. Ladi Williams has details of today's activities on the NGX.
What a week it's been for investors in other indexes like Asia, the Gulf region, and U.S. markets hit hard by the war in Iran. But the NGX acted like a safe haven this week, up about 2%. For the whole trading week, but for today, it's 8 basis points gain for the TGIF trade, 196,968. So it's kind of flattish, but to the green side at this point. For the gainer chart now, we see Eterna PLC, an integrated company. They manufacture and sell lubricating oils and petrochemicals in Nigeria. Didn't benefit much earlier in the week from higher oil prices, but given a nice back-to-back 10% gain, up about 28% this week. 42.35 to close. And we also see Premier Paints again with another full gain for the day. So for some of the SWOTs now, stocks worth over 1 trillion. We see the cement giants, they were up, with Dangote Cement adding 0.60% and Bois Cement. For the losers chart now, RT Briscoe topped the decliners, closing at 12 naira 6 kobo. We also did see profit taking on the most capitalized stock, that's MTN Nigeria, down about 0.62%. So it's a great start for the first trading week of March for the NGX.
Thank you, Ladi. We end Friday business news with snapshots of major global market closing numbers. And that's it on business news. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you. Well, in the world outside our shores, U.S. President Donald Trump says that there will be no deal with Iran until it succumbs to unconditional surrender. Let's join Simon Puzzi with more international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Donald Trump has said there will be no deal with Iran apart from unconditional surrender. It comes as Israel's military says it launched a new wave of strikes, its 15th on Iranian regime infrastructure. The IDF also said it destroyed a military command bunker in Tehran that the supreme leader had planned to use with 50 fighter jets. People in Tehran said last night's bombardment was the heaviest and scariest of the war so far. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has said people should expect the strikes to increase dramatically in the coming days.
Iran is hoping that we cannot sustain this, which is a really bad miscalculation for the IRGC in Iran. You see, there's no shortage of American will here. We remember and honor our fallen. Our forces are executing with unmatched skill, and the mission is advancing decisively. This is the kind of no-nonsense, results-driven warfighting that America demands.
Israel has launched strikes on Beirut in Lebanon after ordering hundreds of thousands of people to leave the city's southern suburbs. There were no immediate reports of casualties. The Israeli military says it is targeting Hezbollah across Lebanon, with Beirut's south seen as a stronghold for the Iran-backed armed group. Following the evacuation orders, traffic jams formed on main roads heading north and south as panicked residents complied with the unprecedented blanket demand covering the area. The The US and Venezuela have agreed to re-establish diplomatic and consular relations. The agency said in a statement that the two sides would make joint efforts to promote stability, support economic recovery, and advance political reconciliation. While their diplomatic relations have been improving since the US military captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in January in a surprise raid, the announcement of formal bilateral ties marks a hugely symbolic step. President Donald Trump ordered troops to seize Maduro and his wife, bringing them to a Manhattan court to face allegations of weapon and drug offenses. The U.S. Embassy in Caracas, which closed in 2019, has already reopened, and Washington has appointed a new diplomat in Venezuela. The US government has temporarily eased sanctions to allow India to buy Russian oil currently stranded at sea amid escalating tensions in the Middle East. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the 30-day waiver was a deliberate short-term measure to allow oil to keep flowing in the global market. Millions of barrels of oil and gas are stuck near the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow Gulf choke point through which nearly half of India's crude oil and gas imports transit. Tehran has threatened to attack vessels attempting to pass through since the US and Israel began their war against Iran. Azerbaijan has said it is pulling its diplomatic staff out of Iran after it accused Iran of launching 4 drones across the border into the Azerbaijani enclave of Nakhchivan. The airport terminal was hit, a drone exploded near a school, injuring civilians, and another drone was shot down as the war in the Middle East spilled over Iran's northern border. Azerbaijan's president condemned the act of terror, demanding an explanation and apology from Tehran. On Friday, he went further, announcing the withdrawal of staff from Azerbaijan's embassy in Tehran and consulate in Tabriz for their own safety. Donald Trump has announced he's removing the Department of Homeland Security chief, Kristi Noem. The president said Noem would move to a new job as a special envoy for a new U.S. security initiative in the Western Hemisphere called the Shield of the Americas. I thank Kristi for her service at Homeland, Trump said. It ends Noem's controversial tenure at the top of the department, which is tasked with carrying out the president's sweeping immigration agenda. Trump said in a post on Truth Social that she will be replaced by Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin at the end of the month. And a tiny possum with one extra long finger on each hand is one of 2 species thought to have been extinct that have been discovered in West Papua, in what's being called an exceptional scientific discovery. The other is a ring-tailed glider with a tail that can grasp branches. Both have been found living in remote rainforests after they were thought to have disappeared 6,000 years ago. Finding living examples of a lost species is rare, but discovering 2 is remarkable, according to scientists who published their findings in the records of the Australian Museum Journal on Friday. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Tigers head coach Rena Wakama has unveiled their final 12-player squad for the FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament scheduled for March 11th to 17th in Lyon, France. The 7-time African champion squad includes Chelsea boss Liam Rosenio says he has no fixed number 1 goalkeeper after dropping Robert Sanchez from his starting lineup in midweek. The English manager brought in Denmark's Philip for the 4-1 victory at Aston Villa days after Sanchez, who has been first choice this season, struggled in a defeat against Premier League leaders Arsenal. In his pre-match press conference ahead of Saturday's FA Cup tie against second-tier Wrexham, coach says he wants there to be competition in every area of the pitch.
I know traditionally if there's a change of goalkeeper, it's like he's now the number 1. It's not the case. It's not the case at all. So we will pick, and I will try and pick the best team possible for each game. And Phil's been he's been working for his opportunity. I thought he took his opportunity really, really well. A massive influence in the game in terms of our build structure and how we created chances and goals came from Phil. And he put in a really good performance, but Rob's put in great performances as well. But I want there to be competition in every area of the pitch.
Mexico will deploy 100,000 police, military and private security forces to secure the 13 games it will host during this summer's Football World Cup. Mexico is co-hosting the biggest World Cup in history alongside the United States and Canada from June the 11th to July the 19th. The government unveiled the security plan less than 2 weeks after an explosion of violence in Guadalajara, one of the 3 host cities, triggered by the death of a notorious drug lord. Iran's sole competitor at the Winter Paralympics in Milan Cortina, Abdulfazid Mianai, has been forced to pull out of the Games due to the ongoing war in the Middle East. The International Paralympic Committee confirmed earlier today Mianai was due to compete in 2 cross-country skiing events but cannot travel safely to Italy due to the war pitting Iran against the United States and Israel. The IPC and the Games organizers have been working since the war's outbreak last Saturday to find alternative routes for the safe passage of the Iran delegation to the Games, but the risk to human life is too much. That sports is back to you, Anne.